If you're into conspiracy theories, you may love this video, and it's just because it's one of my ideas, and I don't know whether it's got any basis in fact, but it's something that I found that when I have the presence of mind to think about it, this works really good. Now, in Maguire program, there's a thing called deep and breathy tone, which is basically where you inhale and you're inhaling deep and breathy, speaking something like this. But the other thing is, it's designed so that you can get the maximum amount of air in and the maximum amount of air out and stay relaxed all the way through. But what I found when I was practicing deep and breathy tone is that you can get the same result if you have a really lazy tongue. So you're speaking with what I feel is a really lazy tongue. So does speaking with a lazy tongue mean that you're less likely to stutter? Well, I thought I'd go to ChatGPT because some of these things, when your tension is high and you're feeling more likely that you're going to stutter, if you employ some technique like deep and breathy or lazy tongue, it's going to help you get through it. But then when you've got your confidence and you're relaxed, you speak like this, everything's perfectly fine, and it doesn't really matter what you do or how you do it, other than I could probably cause myself to stutter by speaking too fast. So I've gone to ChatGPT to see whether there's any therapy, any research, any investigation around speaking with a lazy tongue. So I just asked it, does trying to speak with a very lazy tongue help overcome stuttering? And it said, speaking with a lazy tongue or deliberately relaxing the muscles involved in speech, but it says speech, not necessarily or specifically the tongue, can sometimes be a helpful technique in managing stuttering, though it's not a widely recognised or standard approach in speech therapy. So I'm not saying that this has got any basis in fact, but it definitely has worked for me. It says the idea behind this method, as in being deliberately relaxed, seems to be that forcing the tongue and other articulatory muscles to remain relaxed could reduce tension. So let's do it. I'm going to have a very relaxed tongue. And I don't care speaking stupidly like this because it helps me feel like a really lazy tongue should feel like. So if you got really super lazy here and moderately normal working up here, then you want to go down so that you feel whether you are actually relaxed. So, this makes me feel as if I'm not using any tongue at all. So that's the nth degree, okay? However, it said, it is important to know that stuttering is a complex speech disorder with many potential causes, including neurological, psychological, and genetic factors. While relaxation techniques such as focusing on calm breathing or relaxing the jaw and tongue can help some individuals reduce tension and anxiety around speaking, they aren't necessarily a cure for stuttering. In fact, focusing too much on trying to over-relax the tongue could unintentionally disrupt normal speech patterns or make speaking feel more unnatural. And that's perfectly fine, but I don't necessarily agree with that's a bad thing. Now, I'll just interrupt here. When I was a runner and I was a coach for athletics, we would exaggerate some things so that in the heat of battle or the heat of competition, that the runner or the athlete could actually utilize the benefit of doing something a little bit more than they would normally do. One thing was driving out of the starting blocks. So you'd really exaggerate applying the feet on the ground for the longest period of time so that you got the most amount of push, only because it meant that exaggeration of the driving and I wasn't a sprint coach, but I was a very amateur sprint coach, is that the thought back then was if you drove for longer, that you'd get more traction on the track, more power, more propulsion, etc., etc. Now, to put this into the thing, if you were normally going to do like a 5 out of 10 on your leg drive out of the blocks, we wanted you to try to exaggerate as close as you could to a 10 out of 10 exaggeration, so that when you actually ran, you might move unthinkingly, now become partly automatically, from a 5 to a 6. So you're just a little bit more. This is normal, this is exaggerated, and because you've exaggerated, your normal just moves from here to there, okay? So it could well be. I found that when I'm stuttering, my articulators and stuff are working too hard. As it says, could be various reasons for that. But if I'm going to exaggerate them not working at all, or the bare minimum is just where we talk like this, which sounds completely unnatural, which is just what it said, but it's a speaking exercise. It's not how you want to speak all the time. And this is one of the things that when you're using something exaggerated in your technique, it's not to say that we want you to speak like that all the time. We're saying that if you speak how you normally speak, you'll stutter. You're born, bred, raised, whatever it is, whatever ultimately causes stuttering. This means that if you speak how you would normally speak, there will be a stutter in there, okay? So you can exaggerate something, and in this, exaggerate a lazy tongue. So let's go back, because practicing unnatural speech is not inherently bad, in my opinion. If you're dealing with stuttering, a more structured approach like speech therapy with a licensed speech pathologist is often more effective. Now, I don't know that we have evidence to back that up, but you would think that would naturally be true. But of course, then everybody would have gone to speech language therapy and be fine, and they wouldn't be watching this video. I would have been fine. I think I got worse going to speech therapy, but that's me, and that's speech therapy a long time ago, as you would have seen in a previous video. So they're talking about doing stuttering modification, fluency shaping, cognitive behavioral therapy, which we'll get in a future video, so all those three things. But I asked it a different question. I said, do people who stutter use an overactive tongue? So this is interesting. People who stutter do not typically use an overactive tongue in the sense of excessive movement. And that's not what I was getting at, because I think there's a tension, or we place the tongue, I'm speaking for me, seem to place the tongue in the wrong place sometimes. So it says, do not typically use an overactive tongue in the sense of excessive movement, but rather the stuttering involves more complex interactions of speech and muscle control that often include tension or disruptions in the normal flow of speech. Here's a more detailed explanation. 1. Muscle tension. Many people who stutter experience tension in their articulatory muscles, including the tongue, jaw, and lips when trying to speak. This tension can make speech difficult and lead to blocks or hesitations, which are common in stuttering. It's not so much that the tongue is overly active in an uncoordinated way, but that the person may experience excessive muscle tightness, making it harder to articulate words smoothly. 2. Coordination issues. Stuttering often involves issues with the coordination between the brain and the muscles required for speech. This can lead to disruptions in the timing of speech sounds and a lack of fluidity, causing the tongue and other speech muscles to work inefficiently. not necessarily in an overactive or underactive way, but in a way that doesn't allow for smooth transitions between sounds or words. Okay, so most of this is talking about tension. 3, anticipatory strain. I don't know whether that's where my stutter comes from, because I have difficulty sometimes moving from one syllable to another. Anticipatory strain. Some people who stutter may also anticipate difficulty with certain words or sounds and inadvertently tense up or push harder with their tongue, and this is what I'm talking about, and other speech muscles. This added pressure can make the stutter worse, creating a cycle of tension and disfluency. In this sense, it may seem like the tongue is working too hard, but it's often more about the individual, how the individual responds to the challenge of speaking. 4, avoidance behavior. People who stutter may unconsciously develop compensatory strategies, such as moving the tongue in exaggerated or unusual ways in an effort to avoid stuttering. Absolutely, I've definitely done that. These can sometimes give the impression of an overactive or awkward tongue, but it's usually an unconscious attempt to get past difficult words. Well, I think when I am stuttering that I'm trying too hard to speak, and it usually, and I'm not paying too much attention to my lips or my jaw because that's not right in the forefront of my consciousness, but my tongue is. Where is it? And how hard is it trying? And I found that sometimes my tongue is pushing somewhere, depending on the shape that I'm trying to make, too hard. And I've had a chat to other people. I can't remember the sounds, but I think it was D was one, that when I spoke to a couple or 3 fluent speakers about where they'd put their tongue when they were making a D sound, I think it was a D sound, that it was all the same for them and different for me. And I think we spoke about a few other sounds, and it was the same as well. So I was actually putting my tongue in the wrong place, but I think I was putting my tongue in the wrong place as a result of trying too hard. So to go the other way, speaking with a very lazy tongue, means that I'm pulling it down. So if my normal tension, work hard for tongue, whatever, is a 7, and I'm practicing like a 1, then hopefully I can bring it down to a 5 or 6, which may give me not necessarily better articulation, but better fluency because I'm more relaxed. I don't know. So it's one of my theories. I'm not saying it's absolutely true. That's why I said conspiracy theorists might like this video. All right. So it says tongue and stuttering. In normal speech, in fluent speech, the tongue is highly coordinated, moving smoothly and quickly to produce different sounds at the right time. In stuttering, the timing and coordination of muscle movements, especially the tongue and lips, may not align properly, leading to repetitions, prolongations, or blocks in speech. And I do wonder, this is another part of my conspiracy theory, whether if we've got a tense tongue and it's pushing too hard, and maybe it's pushing too hard on the roof of the mouth, or it's just really tense, whatever, the tongue's quite long. And when I feel that I'm blocking, the blocking felt down here, but the tongue goes way down there. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. So if you're into speech mechanics, or if you're a speech therapist and you can totally discredit what I'm saying, that's perfectly fine. Please put your comment in the comment section so that everybody can be illuminated and enlightened. Okay, and it said, This lack of coordination might contribute to the perception of the tongue being overactive or too tense, but the issue is usually about control and timing rather than overuse and excessive movement. But you see, this is where I would actually disagree, because I think if the tongue is overactive or too tense, that, as you know, anything that has too much tension in, particularly a muscle, its control and timing, as in its precision of movement, is going to be affected. And that's why whenever you run, even if you're running 100 meters, you want to be as relaxed as you can so that everything is working fine. You're throwing a javelin, you're doing a high jump, you're playing darts or whatever. You want to be relaxed. And I don't know if in the sport of speaking that my tongue is relaxed all the time. So that's one of the exercises that I do. I speak with a very lazy tongue, and I play around with it, as in sometimes it's a lisp, and sometimes you just, I don't know, I just play. It's a play thing. And it does seem to keep me nice and relaxed and improve my control. Don't have to do it. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just throwing it out there. And I think if people have got ideas, they need to throw it out there, because the more ideas that are thrown out there and thought about and proven or disproven, then knowledge moves along. So in summary, it says in speech therapy, a major focus is often on reducing tension in the muscles involved in speech, including the tongue, and improving the timing and coordination of speech movements. Techniques like slow speech, easy onsets or gentle onsets, and breathing exercises can help reduce the strain on speech muscles and improve fluency, which is more beneficial than trying to force or excessively relax the tongue. So may have to find out whether they're doing something that is different, because this implies that they're not trying to excessively relax the tongue. But then what is excessively relax the tongue? Going back to when I said that sometimes you need to exaggerate something in order to move it in the direction that you want things to go. And it says, so while the tongue might feel overactive or tense in some cases, it's generally the result of a combination of factors: muscle tension, coordination issues, and psychological elements, rather than a true overactivity of the tongue myself. And interestingly, is that I know that I'm trying to keep my tongue relaxed. This isn't me exaggerating having a relaxed tongue, but this is me just having a relaxed tongue. Is that I don't even feel where it's going to, and yet when I am having a stutter, when I'm blocking, when I'm stuttering or having repetitions, I can often feel exactly where my tongue is, and I know that it's working too hard. How is it for you? I would love to know. So if you got any value from this video, please give me a thumbs up. Want to see or be reminded of future videos, please hit subscribe, and we'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Until next time, bye for now.